Alrighty, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I wrote a book called Reviving Masculinity. You can get it anywhere fine books are sold. It looks like this. It's got lots of good stuff in it, from how to be better at being physically fit to more decisive, more instinctive, bolder, more competitive, all the things that you're going to want to be the best man that you can possibly be. You can go to my website, travisneville.com, if you would like to get a signed copy. I'll sign it and send it to you myself. Alrighty, so today I would like to talk about difference between liberalism and conservatism. And I don't mean it politically, okay? Because I tend to believe that pretty much all politicians are bad, and not in the cliche way. I mean, let me define that for you. If you seek power, if you seek that, uh, something wrong with you in general. Sometimes you get somebody who truly believes they can do good things, and help the world. That's unusual, though. Politics and money are just permanently tied, certainly in our country, and definitely in lots of other countries as well. So again, I'm not talking about politicians and politics when I say conservatism and liberalism. I'm talking about essentially just two different ways to think, two different ways to focus your attention, two different ways to set up your priorities in your life. And I had an experience out in public the other day, and it got me thinking about this. So I wanted to share the research that I came up with. So again, two different ways of thinking, and just for lack of a better term, we're going to say conservatism. That's the more masculine, and liberalism, that's the more feminist, um, and more feminine. And I'll define that as well as we go through here. Um, so let me tell you the story. So I'm sitting at a bar, watching a football game, and further down the bar, there's another TV screen, and it's showing this video game awards show. And I'm video game. I specifically say in my last book that if you're a grown man playing video games and you're not playing against your niece and nephew or your son or your daughter or whatever, you need to quit that shit. Um, but so I don't have any connection there. I don't understand video games. Last time I was playing them, it was Legend of Zelda and Super Contra and Super Tekken Bowl, stuff like that when I was a kid. So they're watching the video games, right? And I end up tied up in a conversation with the bartender who was also talking to this guy, and I end up talking to this guy who's sitting there watching the video game thing. He's got a portable video gaming console with him of some sort. At least I assume that's what it was. I mean, I don't know much about that stuff, but that's sitting in front of him at the bar, and he's watching it, and he's very into it. Like he's commentating as if he's a commentator for a football game, but he's doing it for a video game awards show. It's not even a video game, and he's not even playing. But whatever, whatever blows your hair back. I really believe that. So somehow the subject of Elon Musk comes up, and he makes the comment that Elon Musk is a terrible human being, and that every business that Elon Musk is involved in fails. And I thought to myself, I mean, this is like one of the richest guys on the planet, and the richest human who's ever, one of the richest humans who've ever lived, as far as the dollar amounts. Now, how in the world can that what he's saying exist when I know that Elon Musk's businesses continue to grow and he's a fucking billionaire? I mean, how can both of those facts exist in the same world? And what I realized was that I was projecting my own values onto what he was saying. When I say when I say that a person's business has failed, I'm talking about the financial part of it. Like a business fails, that means they cease to make money. They're not doing as well as they used to. financially going downhill, a very tangible thing, a black and white hands-on thing. Profits are going down. Um, that's not what this guy was saying, and it took me a long time to figure that out. I mean, to me, it's just so plain. Like it's obvious that it's about money. That's what business is there to do. It's there to make money. And then I started really, I go on with the conversation with this guy. It's perfectly civil, and I was asking him very pointed questions and in a very friendly way. I wasn't attacking him, and he was getting very emotional about his answers. But I'm not at all. I mean, I'm like this dude. I could see he obviously was very frail, pale skin. I find out through conversation that he works as an IT guy, completely remotely from home, um, and that's his life. He does IT over a computer screen, and then he plays video games. And not married, doesn't have kids. There's nobody else in his house with him. Which, whatever. I mean, live your life as you will. But I mean, when you live that life, and this is it, kind of all hit me at once after the this interaction was over, that his world, his entire world is simply from the screen to his eyes to his feelings, and that's it. I mean, this guy is your stereotypical liberal thinker. Essentially, it's a feelings centric, feelings first way to think and way to live your life. And so when he, so he's just instant gratification and massive dopamine hits all day long. I mean, that's how he lives. And to him, it's about what is it going to make me feel good today? What's going to make me feel good? How can I make myself feel good today? Which to an extent we all do, right? Um, I go about it differently. People who think more conservatively do it differently. Um, so I'm thinking about this. I'm like, in what way has Elon Musk's businesses failed? I thought, well, I heard Elon Musk talking on Joe Rogan about X the other day, that used to be Twitter. And he said that, everybody working there said it's a massive shift to the right. Politically, that's what's happened in the business. And well, with a business and these are Musk's words, and it's true, with a business that is, I mean, extremely left to begin with, any change is going to be a shift to the right, and really it's just kind of getting back towards center. At least that's my opinion. That's Musk's opinion as well. Um, so in this guy's world, this dude, we're back to the guy at the bar, that doesn't make him feel good. So anything that doesn't feel good is bad, right? So when you take a business and it goes shifts to the right, this guy doesn't like that because he lives in a very left fantasy liberal world. Nothing's actually tangible. He doesn't build anything, create anything. There are no black and white, obvious done or not done things. So this guy believes if it makes me feel bad, then it's wrong. If it makes me feel bad, then that's a failure. I don't need to look at money. That's not what, Elon Musk's job in this guy's life is just to make him feel good, just like everything else in him around his world. And he doesn't have any concept of what this business is doing and how X is making money or not, or how Tesla's making money or how it isn't. That doesn't matter to him. What matters to him is feeling good. And if things are shifting in a way that doesn't make him feel good, then that business is a failure. Okay? I came to that conclusion after a lot of thinking because that personal interaction to me was worth thinking about. It was stimulating, it was challenging for me to get to that. So that got me into all of this, what I'm talking about here. What I realized is that liberal thinking, that feminine thinking, it's pretty much emotion, or at least it's emotion first. Um, you think, you act, you vote your feelings. You do things that make you feel good. In today, things that are going to make me feel good today. And so therefore anything that makes you feel bad, well, that's bad. That's wrong. There's something wrong with that. Facts aren't a thing really to be terribly concerned with. You're concerned with your feelings, which I get. I mean, I do stuff all day long to make myself feel good. Now I choose a different route. I want to build something or make some money, or I tend to be more tangible with that. But that's the conclusion I'm coming to. That feminine liberalism feeling, it's just emotions first. I'll give you some more examples. Electric vehicles. Oh, they make you feel good because oh they don't they're not pumping out carbon monoxide and other bad gases for the environment because you worry about the environment when you're a leftist. And but you dig in a little bit, you realize that lithium mines are completely unsustainable. There's not enough in the world to create all the batteries you need for everybody to go electric, and we don't have the power grid to support 100% electric vehicles. And even if we did, that power grid would be completely or mostly powered by burning coal, which is far worse than a catalytic converted, very efficient gasoline-fired internal combustion engine would be. So again, the facts are second place to how it makes me feel. Um, so there's an example. Another one. Um, let's take, we can all agree Biden's pretty not doing a good job. I don't think he's really doing anything, but the people who installed him are making a lot of bad decisions for our country. But Trump makes me feel bad. He's harsh. He's angry. He isn't friendly, and he's scary. So doesn't make me feel good. So I need somebody who's harmless and soft, like Biden is, which will make me feel good. So I have to vote what makes me feel good, regardless of the outcomes, regardless of how they're doing their jobs. I mean, there's no argument that, how our country was going, certainly economically, during the Trump years, it was far better than it has been for the last 3 years. And that's just the economic part. You start looking at the borders and what happened in Afghanistan, and I can go on and on about all the stuff that this current administration has done. But they fly the flag of equality, LGBTQ this, and that makes people feel good. And that's how the liberal mind works. I seek to feel good first, and facts are a thing I'll get into if I have the time, which probably won't happen because you're worried about getting the next fix of feeling good. Um, Same thing's happening in Canada. Justin Trudeau, as soon as he got into office, he made sure 50% of his cabinet or his advisors were female because the country's half women. And oh my gosh, doesn't that make you feel good? But you got to think how many people who were in the cabinet prior to that who were very good at what they did, patent, now aren't there. And how many people who only got those jobs because of what they do or don't have between their legs? Not exactly what you want when the job requires competence. We got to, that's a factual thing. We want competence first, okay, and then what you look like, smell like, feel like way down the road, okay? How well you do your job, especially in a thing like government where you have so much responsibility and control over the lives of so many, competence needs to be first. And in that case, it wasn't. But, hey, let's make half the cabinet women. That makes people feel good. So they vote for that. But in the long term, you have people in their jobs that invariably aren't as competent, they're not as good at their jobs. So that's another kind of telltale liberal thinking is short term, right? I want to feel good right now. And that's it. That's my number one concern, and the facts kind of go behind that. Um, so there's just another example. And then you get, so what is this? What is the conservative mind, the conservative thinking, the more masculine thinking? Well, that's stuff like what I'm always touting as being the ways to live your life. You know, let's think about A Few Good Men. You guys remember the movie A Few Good Men had Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise and a couple other people in it. Well, Tom Cruise is this lawyer, young guy, full of piss and vinegar. He's the hero of the story. He's the protagonist, and he's trying to take down Colonel Jessup, who has ordered a code red, and a kid died as a result of it. He's a military guy, right? And he's working at Guantanamo Bay, which, we're right across the fence from the bad guys. And this is during the Cold War, so we got Russians involved and things like that. So there's a clear enemy. And watching that movie as an older guy now, I realized that Colonel Jessup, he was the hero. He realizes that there's people who, without these harsh, factual oriented people, we don't have a country. We don't have safety. We don't have buildings to live in. We don't have roads. We don't have any kind of infrastructure. When you're only concerned with feelings, you don't think about long term. You don't think about, well, this might be a necessary evil today to lead us to better shit later on. Like that's not how you think. You want to feel good today, and that's it, kind of. And then the next day you'll want to feel good then too. And that harsh conservative thinking of, hey, I gotta protect you from fucking bad guys, and I gotta do some bad shit to do that. Like that's how it works. And in my field in construction, it's uh it's a similar type of thinking. Obviously, I'm not pulling bad guys, but um, there's done and there's not done. Um, there's painted and there's not painted. There's built and there's not built. It's black and white. There's I got paid or I didn't get paid, you know? And that's it. That's the world I live in. So nothing about that has anything to do with my feelings. Matter of fact, if I were considering feelings first, I would never go to work because working itself doesn't really feel that good. Like I'm gonna get beat up and it's hard and it's hot out there. It might be raining. There's all these things that my feelings are going to tell me not to do. But isn't that the discipline as a man? Isn't that the discipline to set aside your feelings to get the things done that you know need to get done? And then your reward is at the back end of it. You have the paycheck, you have something you built, you have a sense of accomplishment, a sense of satisfaction. You have something that you can look at for a long time, certainly in the construction world. Hey, I built that thing. I'm sitting here recording this podcast in a house that I built myself. Good ass feeling. I'm never going to stop talking about it. It's how good it feels. But in the day we set the trusses, it snowed 15 inches that day. It's myself and two of my best friends and another guy we hired. And I got this Skytrack, and we're setting trusses on this build the frame of my roof. And it's snowing like crazy. It's cold as hell that day, and we didn't have enough food, and it was hard. But here I am enjoying it. So it's a delayed thing, okay? It's almost like child versus adult, okay? The feminine, the liberal feelings of what I want right now, and the adult, hey, we're gonna have to put that off because we got shit to do. All right. And that's again the Colonel Jessup of, hey, yeah, I know this doesn't make you feel good that I got to be so hard on these kids, but if I'm not, we're not prepared for battle, we'll lose. And then all of you guys, you'll never have the luxury of being worried about your feelings about who's in the cabinet and, Trump's a mean guy and, oh, I want somebody soft like Biden. You know, you're going to lose all that if I'm not doing what I'm doing. Right. And to that end, it's the same thing with this guy at the bar. Like, bro, you live in a house that some dudes who think like I think and work like I work built. You drive a car, same thing. They built that. The roads you drive on, same thing. The bar we were sitting in was built by a guy who's like, you know what, this is gonna suck, but I want to build a bar where I can make some money and support my family and do what I need to do, and people can come in here and enjoy themselves. And they can think and act and do however they want to when they're in my place, because I have built that there and I have created that luxury for them. And so you, as a man, obviously you're not listening to this if you're pretty liberal, can take tremendous pride in that. Okay, it can't be, and I'm writing about this in the new book too. There can't be ultimately the divide that we have. Okay, it can't be like I know, man. I'm there too. When I'm talking to this guy at this bar, and I'm thinking, how in the fuck are you existing right now? How in the world do you get up every morning and feel good about yourself? Like you live a life I would never want to fucking live. All right. And it's easy to judge the shit out of that person. And I could have had an argument with him and just lit him up and told him all about what a piece of shit he is. But how does that help us? Right. Now we got Americans against Americans. Yeah, I'm going to go big. Um, that is your responsibility, sir. You are an American. And if you can, you've got to find ways to keep us together as Americans. All right. Hugely important for you to do that. So this is how you look at it, okay? This is how I've rationalized that mindset within myself. And it's my whole family. When I'm out sitting out with my family, they all think that same way. And I don't. I think the way I think, you guys know how I think. Um, I have this mantra in my head, and it's they have the luxury of thinking that way. And what a beautiful world it is. What a beautiful country that we live in, that they can do that, that they are protected, and they can express their views and talk all they want and um, think any way they want to think. You know, what a beautiful country that guys like me and guys like you have built, that can happen. Okay, it's amazing. In fact, it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. It's rarely happened in the history of humanity, and here we have it. Here we have it in the United States. So be proud of that. Okay, when you see someone thinking in ways that you don't agree with, and you see someone acting or voting or whatever, doing things like you don't agree with them, you see somebody that's got BLM signs out in their yard or some other bullshit, you need to get in the habit of thinking to yourself, guys like me make that possible. Okay? Because it's fucking true. Right? It is true. Those people like that, they're never gonna successfully um, physically build things. They're never going to fight in a war to protect us. They're never going to um, probably really build their maximize their physical capabilities. There's a ton of things that you do all the time so that they don't have to. Now, you're not doing that for that reason, but it allows them to not have to think that way, you know? So now let's look at the opposite of what I just told you. If you want to not think that way anymore, or if you, let's say you're a father, you have kids who are coming home from college or high school saying bullshit like super liberal shit, super leftist, feelings first stuff, the cure is really simple, okay? It's hard work. It's physical work. Okay? The more interaction you have with your physical environment, the less you will have the luxury of thinking that way, because you will be forced to when the only outcome that is going to allow you to stop doing what you're doing is two cords of cut, split, and stacked firewood. When that's the only outcome, you cease to be so fantasy oriented. Okay, you cease to connect so much with the Tom Cruise character in A Few Good Men. Okay, Hollywood is as left leaning as it comes. Okay, movies are about feeling good. It is a fantasy land. You go to the movies because you want to feel good. You want to connect with somebody, feel like they're just like you. You want to relate to them, and then you want to see them win. You want to see them succeed because that fucking feels good. Okay? That's what the movies are. They're in the business of making you feel good. And so they use fantasy world to make that happen. Okay? That's not the real world. Right? I mean, how many times I gotta watch these fucking movies, man. And they call themselves an action movie. And this beautiful 5'4" 120 pound girl, I gotta believe that she can kick the shit out of some 6'6" special forces guy. Oh, she's beating him up with these kicks and these twists, and that's fucking fantasy world. I don't give a shit if she's the world champion UFC fighter. I don't care if it's Ronda Rousey. Okay, some dude who's my size, 6 feet, 225. I mean, I'm not pro any at all by any stretch of the imagination, but a guy my size who's trained as a fighter is going to twist her in half. He's going to pinch her face off and throw it in the ground and take a leak on it. Okay? It's not even going to be close. That shit happens in the movies because the movies are there to make you feel good. Okay? You got to make that separation. This is me making my peace with the media. It's extremely frustrating. I talked about it significantly in the last book, and I'm proud that I'm talking about it a lot less in this book because I've come to the point where I realize that that's a fantasy world. It's there to serve those who seek only to feel good, and that's that. And I'm not, immune to it. I like to watch a good movie. I would like it to be more realistic, and that's why I tend to watch older movies, stuff before, let's say, 2014, stuff 10 years old or so. Older the better because it's real. It's believable. It doesn't have this woke puke all over it where it's gonna, oh, we've got to have somebody of every race and we got to have somebody gay and they're all equal and they can all beat each other up. No, they can't. I mean, fucking can't. That's Fantasyland. Um, yeah, so I got off my point there. The cure for that is hard work. Built or not built, done or not done. Paid or not paid. The shit's got to be black and white. And the way that you keep that from happening, the way that you keep that thinking from overpowering your actions is to have your actions overpower your thinking. And you do that by getting out and fucking working out. Build some stuff, cut stuff up, put it back together, dig a hole. There's no, your feelings have no bearing there. Your feelings are going to try to stop you from getting that shit done. So physical work is hard. So you've got to learn how to turn your feelings off so you can get the shit done. Because again, after a few times, you know how good it feels to get it done. You know, yeah, working out sucks. It's hard every day. The shit I did today, I'm working on these man makers, which is like a burpee with dumbbells and a couple other little things in there. They're fucking hard. Like I'm just doing 10 of them. I'm gassed. I'm so gassed. Takes like 2.5 minutes to do 10 of them. And I'll take a break and I do 10 more. They're hard. And the whole time, that voice in my head's going, this sucks. You're getting old. Stop doing it. And you got to turn that off and you got to keep grinding. Um, yeah, that's it. Liberalism is a luxury paid for by those who don't think like liberals. Conservative-minded people, hardworking people physically, created the world that you live in, you know? And again, I'm not talking about politics here. I'm not talking about, politicians. I'm talking about styles of thinking. Because I would tell you, politicians are equally fuckheads when it comes to this. Um, the Patriot Act happened. George W. Bush did that after 9/11. And that was the most intrusive, liberty deleting, freedom taking away act that's ever been passed by our government. And he did that in response to 9/11 because people were afraid. And he called this thing the Patriot Act because it would make people feel better. And we as a public, as a society, allowed that to happen because it fucking made us feel better. And it had shit in it like the government can read all your emails and watch everything you do on the computer. They can look at everything in your phone. It took away so many freedoms of yours. It's crazy. And you allowed that to happen because it made you fucking feel better. Hey, that's a great example of number one, the government sucking. Number two, you can't let your feelings get involved in a lot of things. COVID lockdown, same thing. You guys were afraid. Everybody was afraid, and we let that happen. Nobody stood up. Nobody stood up and say we're not going to fucking do that anymore. At least very few people did. And I got to tell you, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that the good men of this country allowed that to happen. I would like to think that the good men of this country will never allow it to happen again. I'd like to think that, but we'll see. If you mark my words, some shit like that's coming. Okay, it's going to come again because they did it the first time. Why wouldn't they do it again? Why wouldn't they? Anyway, yeah, left versus right. When you you just live 100% in your emotions and in your feelings and in your head. That's reality to you. You know what I mean? That's real. Like this guy, I didn't go into it because I knew exactly the direction it was going to go. If I'd asked him, well, how many genders are there? He'd go as many as you want. Like he'd have gone down that road because he lives in a world that's doesn't have any physical boundaries. It's pretty much all his imagination and fantasy world. It's all in his head and it's all feelings. And if somebody wants to feel like they want to be this, like he doesn't have enough things in his life that are concrete, that are absolute, that would let him know, oh, well, no, that there is right and wrong. There is black and white. There is done and not done. And there are just men and women. You know what I mean? You might have a personality difference, but physically you're one or the other, and that's that. Okay? That's how the world works. It's a binary world. Okay, there's done and there's not done. There's paid and there's not paid. Um, yeah, yeah, I hit most of my points here, but know this, guys, too, that in general, like I said, the liberal is more of a feminine type of style of thinking. Okay, and as well it should be. Okay, women are going to have this, occasional roller coaster of emotions within them. They got a monthly wave of stuff happening, all these hormones that thank the fucking Lord you don't have. Be happy you don't have that. So their world is so much of emotion and feelings, and it's just overwhelming. It can be to women. and you don't have that as much. I talk a lot about in both of my, actually in all three of my books about, how to recognize and address your own feelings. Ours out is powerful, so we don't, as men, it doesn't define us. It doesn't become the primary thing in our lives because we've got all these facts and things to deal with. And what a great compliment that is. Okay, you're great at that. She's great at the emotion stuff. But know that. And don't, like I said, don't take the next step of going, well, I judge you for that. You shouldn't be able to. You need to control your emotions better. And why can't you think like I do? Well, do you want somebody who thinks just like you do all the time? That'd be boring. All right. You have roles to fill with her. I talk about that in both the books too. But again, stop short of judging. Obviously I judged a little bit today, but I'm a judgmental motherfucker. I'm not going to say I'm not. But my mantra is what a great country that you get to think any way you want to. You can be super liberal. You can be a racist. You can be tall, short, fat, skinny. You can be smart, dumb. You can be whatever you want in the United States. That's why we created this country. But that's why this country was created for us. Um, and what a great thing. So when you run across people who don't think or act or look the way you do, remember that. Hey, fuck, what a cool place. So that means that you can think and act and do whatever you want to do as well, for the most part. Isn't that awesome? The government can't come after you for that. We've got a Bill of Rights and a Constitution that's going to stop that. All right? And it's awesome. So there it is, left versus right. Liberalism in a nutshell, at least from my research and experience. Um, yeah, no shade thrown on that video game guy. Live your life, bro. Enjoy the shit out of it. We just think about stuff differently, and I got a lot out of that conversation. I recorded a whole podcast about it. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I'm working on my third book. It's going to be called Mastering Masculinity. We're about 3/4 of the way through it right now. That should look for that. Nice summertime, June, something like that. It should be out. And I hope in some way today's show helped you to get your shit together. Have a great week.